pankajam karomi narayana pujanam sada vadami narayana nama nirmalam स्मरामि नारायण तत्त्वमव्ययम्. We are entering in this session the shortest chapter of Srimad Bhagavad Geetā, namely Bhakti Yoga, which is the 12th chapter. Even though the 15th chapter also has the same number of shlokas, that is 20 shlokas, as this one has, this chapter is shorter than even the 15th chapter, for the meter of the shlokas is consistently shorter. This chapter also marks the end of the second set of 6 chapters, which, according to many commentators, highlights the Tat-pada. As you may remember, we had commented before that the first 6 chapters of Bhagavad Geetā relatively emphasize the Tvam-pada, especially because of its coverage of Swadharma. Who am I? What is my Swadharma? So it is the sadhaka trying to understand himself or herself. The second set of 6 chapters, 7 through 12, are replete with glorious descriptions of God, culminating in the 12th chapter, but having a flashpoint in the 11th, which we covered just a while ago or last week, where Vishwarupa Darshana, God is shown as being everything. Everything is in Him. Therefore, the second set, chapters 7 through 12, are regarded as giving special focus, special emphasis on Tat-pada, which is God. Jivatma, Paramatma, and then the last set of 6 chapters, 13 through 18, will focus on the oneness of Jiva and Brahma, or Jiva and Ishvara. So we are at the end of the second set, which is this 12th chapter called Bhakti Yoga. However, this chapter does cover essential Jnana Yoga too. This is a very comprehensive chapter covering human values, certain spiritual practices, a very beautiful and unique description of Bhakti and Jnana in contrast, and it has very, very impressive, thought-provoking descriptions of Akshara Upasaka. Whoever is contemplating intensely, deeply the supreme truth of Brahma. Called Bhakti Yoga, those descriptions for many people are no other than description of an ideal devotee of Sakara Saguna Brahma. But going by Sri Adi Shankaracharya, we would say the verses 13 through 19, 7 verses, are descriptions of Akshara Upasaka. That is the impersonal God, So there is this technical issue coming up. Are those 7 verses which are really splendid, which inspire us to turn towards God, to turn within, to contemplate on the spiritual truth rather than matters of the world, which we sometimes do endlessly, about places, about things, about people, about relationships, about our win or loss, about our enjoyments, about our suffering. Endlessly, this mind tends to think about things that are worldly. Rather than inquiring, who am I? We think about who is this, who is that, what are they doing? And many a time with envy, jealousy, or with some pride about how good we are and how others are uh, worthless or less merited. Whatever way, thousands of ways, the mind can be engaged in outer world. So whether it is Saguna Sakara Ishvara, God with attributes, having given a certain form, resembling a human form maybe, or as we have in the broad vision of Sanatana Dharma, some God forms may have an animal face too, Ganesha, Hanuman, and so on. So that is one kind of upasana, Saguna Sakara Ishvara upasana or Brahma upasana, or it is Nirguna Nirakara, that is attributeless Brahma, which cannot be thought of. No sound, no touch, no smell, no taste, no form, no color. Ashabda, Asparsha, Rupa, Arasa, Agandha, and so on. How to think about such a Brahman? There is a way. The way is more of negation, dismissal, than holding on to any particular attribute. So the 7 verses, 13 through 19, can be taken as, broadly speaking, description of either upasaka, but quite an advanced one for that matter. It is, I guess, these 7 verses which have especially endeared the 12th chapter to a very large number of people, and even historically famous people like Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi were deeply touched by the 12th chapter. The human values described therein. For example, the very first verse in that set of 7, Adveshta Sarvabhutanam, Maitraha Karuna Evacha, Nirmamo Nirahankaraha, Samadukka Sukha Kshami. Someone who does not bear or hold in his heart even the least amount of dislike or hatred towards anyone. Adveshta Sarvabhutana, even towards animals or plants or birds or aquatic creatures, but towards no life form does this person have any negative emotion. That itself is so uplifting. Is it possible for us to move towards that state of consciousness? Adveshta Sarvabhutana, not hating, and to put it in more positive way, Maitraha, on the contrary, he has or she has friendly attitude, friendly disposition towards everyone. Karunaha, having compassion and having no mamata, mamakara. This is mine, better not others touch it. So that kind of possessiveness. Nirahankaraha, having no pride or no low self-esteem either. A certain inner silence marks that state of consciousness, neither thinking of oneself as higher, more endowed, nor thinking of oneself as lower and yet to evolve, or sometimes, oh, what a sinner I am, and so on. In human life, people can go up or down in their self-description. But nirmamaha, nirahankara, which has come many times before, sama dukkha sukha kshama kshami, equal in pleasure and pain. That is the inner silence we talked about just a moment ago. Kshami means forgiving. One is forgiving, or kshami also can mean putting up with hardships that others cause to us. Kshama, Arjava, Daya, Tosha, Satyam. Ashtavakra in his Ashtavakra Gita asks us to develop 5 virtues, and he mentions Kshama first. Mukti michasi chetata vishavat vishayantyaj Kshamarjava dayatosha satyam piyushavad bhaja. Right at the beginning of the marvelous Ashtavakra Gita, on which for the second time we had a spiritual camp just a couple of days ago, this time in Bangalore. 6 months ago we had it in Lonavala between Bombay and Pune. What a treat it was. Ashtavakra Gita. If you study Ashtavakra Gita, you may feel like leaving everything else and just contemplating upon the wisdom of Ashtavakra Gita. Sage Ashtavakra, who at one time had 8 deformities in his body, had a spirit which was free of any deformity. Given the choice, which one would you prefer? Which one would you go for? A body which is very good looking, but a mind that is crooked. Or a body which is crooked at several places, but the mind which is very clear. The mind knows, I am that Satchit. No deformity, no damage, no injury, no old age, no disease can ever come anywhere near me. Let people talk the way they want. I am that pure consciousness, existence, Satchit. Ashtavakra says to Janaka, and this Ashtavakra Gita describes Janaka also going into raptures. Happily he says, yes, I am seeing, I am clearly able to see that I am already free. I don't have to walk even one step. Nitya Shuddha Mukta Swarupaha Aham, says Janaka too. In 298 verses, just two short of 300, Ashtavakra Gita is a marvelous high plateau work of Vedanta. I myself felt after teaching it just 3-4 days ago that I think I should just read few verses of this and stay in meditation here onwards. It was so uplifting. No steps, no process, just be. Be free of conflict. Live a conflict-free life. Please see, you are creating conflict. You are creating duality. You are actually, through certain immaturity, creating a division and then crying over it. Stay without any division. Stay like, as Katha Upanishad would say, Jyotiriva adhumakam, a flame without any smoke. Or stay like the flame without any flicker, not wavering, not shaking, a flame that is burning and staying straight, as Bhagavad Geetā puts it. Yatha deepo nivatastho Nengate sopama smrita yogino yata chittasya yunjato yogam atmanah. But Upanishad says you are a flame where there is not even a trace of smoke. And Bhagavad Geetā says when you meditate more and more on these spiritual truths, let the world go up in flames, or let the world be full of happiness, prosperity, and so on. Makes no difference to you. You will be like a flame, bright flame, which does not waver. And the means and the food for thought, material for contemplation are given by these great scriptures, the Upanishads and Gita. I have said a number of times that just spend 15 to 18 minutes reading the mantras of Upanishads with an eye on their meanings. After a while, you don't need to read any translation. As you read an Upanishad mantra, the mantra reveals its meanings. The truth reveals itself. Vivranute tanum swam is an expression in Kathopanishad. When you apply yourself more and more to the pure self as though comes before you and says, look, here I am. Tanum vivranute. It reveals its true nature. Not merely by giving lectures or by collecting much information. One cannot gain. One must have a certain conscious and enjoyable linking, connecting, applying one's mind to Brahma. One chooses Brahma over a million other things. Otherwise, we find in a day's life, everyday life, we have a million things to do, no time to apply ourselves to Brahman. But with divine grace and with a little 2 cents of our effort and God's grace go together. We shall find more and more occasions, more and more times, more and more opportunities, more and more inner inspiration, inner stimulus, prerana, spurti, we get to apply our mind to Brahman. Nayamatma pravachanena labhyah न मेधया न बहुना श्रुतेन यमेवैष वृणुते तेन लभ्यः तस्यैष आत्मा विवृणुते तनुं स्वाम. Come on, leave aside not only pursuit of pleasures and possessions. Let go even of your attachment to mere words and words. Opt for God. Opt for truth. Yam eva esha vranute. You opt for truth alone. Yam eva. Eva means truth alone. No matter what, no matter where. As Papa Ramdas, who built that Ananda Ashram in the northern tip of Kerala, at the village or town called Kanjangad, he opted for Atma Rama. Atma Rama meaning he called that truth Ram, but it was not that character of Ramayana as much as it was the truth, the pure truth, pure power, the pure, most benevolent master ruling the whole universe, by whose wish alone everything happens, and he yam eva esha vrunute. Vittal Rao changed his name to Ramadasa, and this Ramadasa did Varana, Samvarana. Varana means opting for, choosing. He chose Ramam eva. Atma Ramam eva vivranute. No, so that's vivranute, revealing. Vranute. He chose. Vru, Varana. Like Swayamvara, a princess chooses the prince among a dozen or 20 sitting before her. She chooses, this young man shall be my husband. She chooses. They have no say in it. Like that, can you choose truth? In form or without form? Either of them, go for it. Papa Ramdas opted for that power, that master, that ruler, that supreme intelligence with no form as such, male or female, tall or short, old or young. Ram, when he said Ram will look after us, Ram is deciding all that is going on. Total transformation, radical transformation. Deep inside him, there was a change. There was a letting go of worries and fears. There was a complete letting go of anxiety for the future and regrets of the past. Everything washed away. Rest is history. Even today, after almost a century of his realization, Ananda Ashram attracts devotees, spiritual seekers from around the world. So, the pure self or God comes and shows himself to us if we opt for him. The 12th chapter describes the supreme truth either way, with form, without form. When it's with form, with description, then it is called personal God. Personified as well as personal. Whereas otherwise it is impersonal and unpersonified. Personified, you make God into a person, maybe as father, mother, brother, sister, protector. Just as on the earth you have somebody who comes to your rescue when you are in trouble. Whereas unpersonified, you don't say God is a person. Even he, she, such words do not apply to God. God is a power, God is a force, God is an intelligence. And that intelligence is always taking care of me. So you trust that intelligence. And in the Advaita outlook, you also contemplate upon how that supreme intelligence alone is. I do not exist at all apart from it. Therefore, Raham Brahmasmi means that Brahma alone is, what about me? I am included. I am also one with Brahma. Brahma is me. Brahma alone is me. Brahma alone is that crawling ant over there. Brahma alone is that flying bird over there. Brahma alone is the fish swimming in the water. Brahma alone is the tormentor. Brahma alone is the tormented, the exploiter, the exploited. Brahma alone is everything. Ekam sad vipra bahuda vadanti. Ekameva dvitiyam Brahma, and that supreme truth is our object of contemplation. Therefore, what begins now is a treat for all spiritual aspirants, and therefore we are going to see now how Shankaracharya introduces this chapter with 20 verses. Bhagavan Bhashyakara Sri Adi Shankaracharya says, Dvitiya Prabhutishu विभूति अंतेषु अध्यायेषु द्वितीय प्रभृतिषु, starting with second and ending in Vibhuti Yoga, that is the 10th. So second to 10th is 9 chapters. Second to 10th, 9 chapters. In those 9 chapters, अध्यायेषु परमात्मनः ब्रह्मणः अक्षरस्य विध्वस्त सर्व उपाधि विशेषस्य उपासनमुक्तम्. All these 9 chapters. You may wonder, what about 11th chapter, which also we covered? Shankaracharya is not considering what we covered or what we left. He is looking at the content. He gives a special place for the 11th chapter. A couple of sentences further down, he talks about Vishwarupa Darshana separately. But Sankhya Yoga, the second, and Karma Yoga, the third, and so on till the Vibhuti Yoga, the 10th chapter. 2 to 10, that is 9 chapters. Navasu Adhyayeshu Paramatmanah Brahmanah Aksharasya Vidvasta Sarva Upadi Visheshasya Upasana Muktam. All through there was quite a lot of hints at the reality with no limiting adjunct, as the English word goes for Upadi. Limiting adjunct. There is no color in a crystal ball, but if you put that crystal ball upon a table where already a blue tablecloth had been laid, then the crystal ball looks all blue. In itself, it has no color, blue or red, yellow or violet. But the crystal ball looks as though it is all blue. The blueness belongs to the tablecloth. Likewise, birth and death, rise and fall, hungry or thirsty, spiritual aspirant or utterly materialistic, all these belong to BMI, body, mind and intellect, the personality. Nothing of those, none of those applies to the pure self. Therefore, Adi Shankara says, the pure self or God in the pure form is Vidvasta Sarva Upadi Visheshaha Ishvaraha. All Upadis. It is the limiting adjuncts, it is certain factors which in the domain of erroneous perception, asamyak darshana vibhage, what happens is the truth seems to have those attributes. Brahmanah aksharasya vidvasta sarvopadi visheshasya upasana uktam adhyayeshu dvitiya adi dashama anteshu adhyayeshu. And of course, in those chapters, the God principle with the certain attributes was also described. Sri Krishna admits, rather Shankaracharya admits, Sarva Yoga Ishwarya Sarva Jnana Shaktimat Sattva Upadehe. Shaktimat, having tremendous, unbelievable amount of power. Sattva Upadehe. He too has to play this role, a certain Upadi, certain set of things. For in order to do a certain function, truth has to assume a certain form. Mahavishnu assumed the form of a fish, Matsya, another time of the form of a tortoise, Kurma, yet another time to do a certain function, to do some specific task. Mahavishnu assumed the form of Varaha, a boar. Matsya, Kurma, Varaha, Narasimha, Vamana, Parashurama, Rama, Krishna, Buddha, Kalki, or Balarama and Kalki, all these were taken to perform certain specific functions. By himself, Mahavishnu is Upadi Rahita. Sarva Yoga Aishwarya, Sarva Jnana Shaktiman, Jnanavan Shaktiman Cha. Having all Jnana and having all Shakti through the Upadi, Sattva Upadi, Ishvara Se Tavacha. Arjuna is thinking of God, Sri Krishna. So the word Tava has come. Tava means your. Arjuna is thinking, looking at Sri Krishna, you have shown me Vishwarupa now. You in previous words spoken so far, let me know. You actually revealed to me your purest form with no description possible. And one notch below, your form with certain qualities and attributes. And upasana is possible of both these. Upadi rahitasya upasanam sambhavati. Upadi sahitasya upasanam api sambhavati. Both are possible. Therefore, tatra tatra uktam. In those 10 chapters, second chapter, in those 9 chapters are the second chapter to 10th. Dvitiya prabhrati dashama anteshu navasu adhyayeshu tatra tatra uktam. At places. Tatra tatra in Sanskrit means at various places. We can't literally translate it there. Tatra means there. Tatra tatra doesn't mean there. Tatra tatra means at various places. Vishwarupa Adhyayetu, even as some of you are getting a bit impatient, why is he not talking anything about the 11th chapter? As he begins the 12th, he should talk about 11th which got over, which comes before this 12th. He is mentioning it now. Vishwarupa Adhyayetu Aishwaram Adyam Samasta Jagadatma Rupam Vishwarupam Twadiyam. Your Vishwarupa Twadiyam Tava. Tava Vishwarupam Samasta Jagadatma Rupam. It has the entire creation, entire Jagat as itself. I am this entire creation. Upasana arthamevacha darshitam tvaya. You showed it, so I have an option of constantly contemplating on God as this entire universe. Tacha darshayitva, after showing that, uktavan asi. In the last shloka of the previous chapter, 11th chapter, uktavan asi, you have told, you have declared. That was the shloka we saw in the last class. Mat karma krit mat paramo mat bhaktah sangha varjitah nirvaira sarva bhuteshu yas samameti pandava. If anybody among us does everything for God's pleasure, अनेन मया क्रियमाणेन कर्मणा भगवान् सर्वात्मकः श्री परमेश्वरः प्रीयताम्. In the sankalpas of many rituals we say this. Or at the end of the puja we say anena maya kritena, what I have done so far. Parameshwaraha priyatam. Lalitambika priyatam. Ganapatihi priyatam. Subramanya priyatam. Whatever is the God form. Priyatam means may he be happy. May she be happy. Therefore, upasanam. Tacha darshayitva mat karma krit. Perform both religious and secular actions of yours for God to be pleased with you. Just as in life we do many things, so our parents are happy, our spouse is happy, our children are happy, our gurus are happy. Gurus do things so that the students are happy, for their priti, their happiness. Ataha aham anayoho ubayoho, Arjuna thinks. Therefore, mat karma krit mat paramaha, we saw. There are 5 attributes of a good seeker. So that was said. Anayoho ubayoho pakshayoho. The vidvasta sarva upadi visheshaha ishvaraha, and with sarva jnana shaktimat, sarva jnanavan, sarva shaktimanapi, having all kinds of powers, all kinds of magnificent manifestations. Ataha aham anayoho ubayoho pakshayoho vishishtatara ubhutsaya. Bud bodhati means to know. Buddha dhatu. Bodha means knowledge. You have Atma Bodha, Tattva Bodha, Das Bodha, Das Bodha by Samartha Ramdas. Bodha means wisdom. Bodha means knowledge. Bodha, Buddha Dhatu is to know. And there is what is called a desiderative form. Just as to know is jijnasa, is desire to know. Kriya karoti is to do. Chikhirsha is wanting to do. Like that, Buddha is to know, Bubhutsa is desire to know. Same as Jidnasa, meaning. The root is different. Vishishta tara bubhutsaya. Vishishta itself means a very specific desire. Vishishta tara is very, very specific desire. I want to know the 2 ways in which human mind gets elevated. Human mind, alas, has a tendency to slip and fall and get corrupted and get disrupted and get agitated. Oh, large number of, I should say vast majority of human beings not having that little skill of divine contemplation get into so much misery. Untold miseries are the human lot, all because they neither did Akshara Upasana nor did Saguna Ishvara Upasana. They are postponing it. One day I will meditate regularly, believe me. One day I will do yoga regularly. One day I will eat right food. One day I will live a life of self-control. One day, or one of these days. Eknatheshwaran laughs at it. You go on postponing meditation, saying one of these days, but it finally ends up none of these days. None of these days. Add one N. O-N-E, one. N-O-N-E, none. None of these days. (1993) December, his book came to my hands. Meditation, an 8-point program for daily spirituality. I was so overjoyed. The points, the truths, the various great ideas, and the wonderful language with humor. Right away, I guess, in 1994, I got a chance to go see him. And enthusiastically I mentioned, your books are so inspiring, so delightful. You say over there, one of these days becomes none of these days. I gave several examples. But I could see on his face, he didn't remember all those. He was looking at me because he wrote those books many years before. See, we speak many things, we write many things, and later we forget. Somebody says, you gave that example. What? When did I? I don't remember. I must have. I should have. I perhaps have had. So he and a bunch of his Western devotees. He was surrounded by all Westerners. And when they came to know in 1994 that a Swami in orange clothes, the chief teacher of Chinmaya Mission in San Jose, is coming to see you. He wore his regular dress, simple dress, Western dress you can say, but simple. But all the Western ladies, I must tell you, they got a little, cautious. Swamiji in orange robes and maybe with a japamala, maybe with a long beard, with bhasma and chandana and maybe long hair also. All those white women, I remember, were in Indian sari and they very lovingly received me. I went with two Vedanta students, Ashok and Shobha, Naimpallis. So three of us went. All are in saris. And of course, I was in orange robes. I had a big japamala, short beard, chandan, kumkum. And yes, but once they met me and saw that he is not very formal, but for his dress, he's very informal, very approachable. You can talk to him like a friend. Inside them, they must have thought, wearing sari was not necessary. Just to conclude this digression, I again went after 1.5 years, I guess. Yes, within a year, second visit with Tejomayananda, Ishwarananda, who was that time Brahmachari, Someshwara, Robin Thompson, another Brahmacharini from Vancouver, Pranji Lodhia, Lalita Lodhia, 11 of us went. That time, to conclude, as I said, this reference, none of those European Caucasian ladies was in sari. All of them in their Western dress, simple. Again, the love and warmth and goodwill, etc., were the same. I'm talking of Eknath Ishwaran, who had, and that ashram continues to be Ramagiri Ashram, Nilgiri Press, some 1.5 hour drive north of San Francisco. And how nice, 11 of us sitting around him on chairs, having some tea and some snacks. He ensured just half an hour he met us. What struck me was he ensured that he had a word to talk to, a word to hear from every member. He did not allow any one or two to talk all the time. Every member. One girl had flown into America from Australia. Her sister eventually became a brahmacharini and today Swamini working in Hong Kong. So that sister, she was from Australia. Very shyly she was sitting behind. He reached out, where did you come from? Tell me something about yourself, and so on. Anyway, Eknath Ishwaran, they say Eknath, but it is Eknath, his family name it is. It's not Eknath, the Sanskrit word. It's Eknath, a family name. In Kerala, they have Padiyat and so many ending in At. Eknath. He wrote wonderful books on Gita, Upanishads, Dhammapada, certain Christian mystical works. So he said, you say one of these days I will become regular in meditation, but that one of these days ends up as none of these days. Krishna, you and I should be careful. We should drop that expression one of these days. We should say, today I am going to meditate. Today I am going to study maybe just for 15 minutes an Upanishad. Maybe just mantras and if need be, a quick look at the translation. Today itself I will, if not 10,000 steps of walking, which is to be done, I'll do 6,000 steps of walking. Come on. Not one of these days, today. But what today? Already half the day is over. Do it in the afternoon, do it in the evening, do it late evening. Or you could not meditate whole day because of other vasanas. Okay. After dinner, before you hit the bed, sit, don't meditate sleeping. Sit for 5 minutes, sit erect on your bed and meditate. Either on God with attributes or on truth without attributes. अतः अहम अनयोः उभयोः पक्षयोः विशिष्ट बुभुत्सया पृच्छामि. I shall ask you, this is Arjuna's point of view. Arjuna feels, I will ask you, Sri Krishna, now. Iti Arjuna uvacha. That is how this chapter begins with words of Arjuna. And then the splendid answers of Sri Krishna. Arjuna uvacha evam satata yukta ye bhaktastvām paryupāsate ye chāpi aksharam avyaktam tesham ke yoga vittama. Arjuna says, he uses the word bhakta for those devoted to God with attributes, saguna, sakara. Whether sakara or nirakara, saguna definitely. In Christianity, in Islam, in Sikhism, they worship God with attributes. God is kind, God is compassionate, God is powerful, God creates, God destroys, and with some minor differences. But quality, so many descriptions. God is the Father in heaven, says Christians. God is the supreme ruler. Allah is the ruler, say Muslims. In Sikhism, they have their own idea of God, His attributes, His compassion. Ek Onkar, Satnam, Karta, Purak, Nirbhay, Nirbhav. They have in the beginning, I guess, of Granth Sahib. It is all Saguna. They don't attach a human form or any other form. In Sanatana Dharma, we have both Saguna, Sakara, or Saguna, Nirakara, and Nirguna, Nirakara. So Bhakta Shabda Arjuna uses for Saguna, maybe Sakara or Nirakara, but Saguna definitely. Saguna Brahma is the object of Bhaktas in his terminology. You can have Akshara, Nirguna, Nirakara Bhakta also. Bhaj is to adore. You could adore the one without any description possible. And the second half of the shloka, the terminology of Sri Arjuna, Prince Arjuna, is Aksharam Avyaktam. So through two words, he is referring to Nirguna Nirakara. And in both camps, there are many. Therefore, rather than saying Tayoho of these two, he uses a plural, Tesham. Of these thousands or millions in both camps. Tesham, it actually tayoho dvayoho vargayoho. Of these two categories, kaha yoga vittamaha, ke yoga vittamaha is the splendid question. That is all Arjuna says in this chapter. The remaining 19 shlokas are in the mouth of Sri Krishna. We will take a look at them in the coming class. Next Tuesday evening in the West, Wednesday morning in India. And mind you, coming Sunday in the West, daylight saving ends. And it affects our timings a little. In India, our classes from next Wednesday will be at 8 a.m. We are not changing the time in the West. Presently also 6:30 p.m. on Tuesdays, going by Pacific time. Next week also 6:30 p.m. on Tuesdays in California or Seattle or whatever, Vancouver or Los Angeles, Oregon and so on, Pacific time. For 6:30 p.m. next week is going to be 8 a.m. of Wednesday in India. So next Gita class for people residing in the East is 8 a.m. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Hari Om.